Yo, 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 what is going on, guys? Joey Juggermuck is back here with another video. And, guys, per usual, it is Saturday night, and I'm going to be giving you my game picks for week 4 of the 2022 NFL season. So let's jump right on into it, guys. First game, we have our first London game, early morning game this season for the first time. The 2-1 Vikings at the 1-2 Saints. So the Vikings. Kind of an up and down start. They looked good at times. They've also looked pretty concerning at times. They ended up coming back to win last week against the Lions, but they went down 14-0 at first. So it's been, again, kind of up and down. They've looked, again, inconsistent, I would say. Saints, meanwhile, they too have looked inconsistent. They've been battling some injuries, but their quarterback situation, Jameis Winston has not been playing well. Again, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, so it is somewhat understandable. But the Saints are definitely not off to the start that they would have liked. I was about to say it's in London. I think the Saints are considered the home team. But I like the Vikings in this one. I don't know. The Saints right now, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. They're banged up. The Vikings know that they need to play better. They're going to be motivated. I do trust. I don't. I'm not big on Kirk Cousins, but they do have a great receiving core. I just don't think that Winston is doing his job right now. So I'm going to go with the Vikings here, guys. Let's go with Minnesota 27-24. I think it's going to be a really good game, though. Next game, guys, this is our just a regular 1 o'clock game on Eastern time. We have the 2-1 Browns at the 1-2 Falcons. So the Browns, obviously they should be 3-0. They just had an epic collapse against the Jets in week 2. But then they're coming off a win against Pittsburgh last Thursday night. So they're coming up on 10 days off now, or 9 to 10 days. So they're feeling, I think, pretty fresh. Of course, their running game has been the strength of the team so far. No surprise. Offensive line is healthy, and they're just running it down teams' throats. Chubb and Hunt just when the offensive line is healthy and when they're healthy, it's just really, really hard to stop that. It doesn't really matter who's quarterback. Brissett's been okay. Falcons, meanwhile, of course, not good. No surprise. It's just not their year. They're kind of in full rebuild mode. I mean, they have some talent. Cordarrelle Patterson, Kyle Pitts, and then, of course, Calvin Ridley, but he's not playing this year. So it's in Atlanta. But I do think the Browns are going to win this game. They're much more motivated. They know that they need to keep the pace and stay ahead because 3-1 is much, much different than 2-2. So I'm going to go with the Browns here, guys. Let's go with Cleveland, 31-24. I could see the Falcons getting off to an early lead, but they'll never hold it because they just can't hold lead. So I'm going to go with the Browns, 31-24. Next game, guys, here we go. We have the 2-1 Bills at the 2-1 Ravens. I still just cannot get over how this is only just a random 1 o'clock game. I mean, seriously, it kills me. Anyways, so the Bills, in a hole right now, just because they're battling a lot of injuries too. This is actually a rare time where the team that we're playing is actually more banged up than we are. They're down a ton of guys. No Jordan Phillips. I don't know if Jordan Poyer's playing. Gabriel Davis is banged up. They lost Micah Hyde, I think, for the year. Still no Tre'Davious White, as far as I know. So they're down a lot of guys. But for the Ravens, we're doing better in terms of getting rehabbing guys back. Stanley, very, very close to returning. I don't think he's going to play tomorrow because we activated David Sharp, and Stanley was mispracticed on Friday. He's getting very close, but I don't think he's going to play this week. Another storyline heading into this game is the weather is actually going to be really dicey. It looks pretty rainy, which sucks. It really is pissing me off because this that may ruin a complete shootout between Jackson and Allen, which would be so fun to watch. Again, we'll see. It's still, the weather could cooperate, but it looks pretty nasty right now. But for the game itself, I just, I thought about it this week, and I want to say that we have a chance. And we do have a chance. I'm never going to say we don't have a chance. But and I know the Bills are banged up, but I just don't see how we're going to be able to keep up. I'm sorry, but our defense so far has not looked good. We did show some flash at the end of last week. I know we forced turnovers on 3 straight drives, but turnovers the whole year have not been an issue. We forced turnovers in every game so far. That's been fine. The issue is we're letting up a lot of yardage, a lot of big plays, and we have to fix that. And what's really been an issue is just giving the quarterback too much time. The pass rush has not been there the past 2 weeks, and they've just been airing it out downfield. arguably, no team does it better than the Bills. Okay, maybe the Chiefs, but regardless, the Bills air it out very, very well. And I just don't think our secondary is going to be able to keep up. We're healthier now. Stevens is a force back. Humphrey and Peters practice all week. They're fine. Still got Marcus Williams, but those we look great on paper, but we have not. I mean, the players themselves have been okay, but we're not playing very well as a team right now in the secondary front, and I just don't know how we're going to be able to keep up. I think the offense will struggle. I know the Bills' defense is banged up, but it's still quite good. And in the rain, I think the passing game is going to be an issue. I don't think we're going to be able to establish a consistent running game either. So I think the Bills are going to win this one pretty easily, guys. I know the weather, and I know we're desperate for a win. But I think the Bills are going to win this one. I'm going to go with Buffalo here, guys, 41-17. I think we're going to struggle big time tomorrow. So Buffalo 41-17. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Commanders at the 2-1 Cowboys. So the Commanders, not very good, of course. Wentz has been very mediocre. Dallas, they're doing okay. They lost week 1 to the Bucs, but they won 2 straight. They beat Cincinnati in week 2, and then they just beat I think it was the Giants on Monday Night Football several days ago. So the Cowboys are doing all right. Cooper Rush is, doing a decent job of holding the fort down. They're obviously ready for Prescott to come back, but it's in Dallas, which really helps. And for that reason, I am going to take the Cowboys here. Cowboys are a team that play much, much better at home than on the road. The Commanders just aren't very good, I don't think. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys here, guys. Let's go with Dallas, 31-17. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Seahawks at the 1-2 Lions. So the Seahawks, obviously, it's not their year. I mean, I know I've said several years now, we're like, okay, the Seahawks, they're going to fall off. And they haven't. They've found a way to get it done. But I think this is the year that they finally fall off. They don't have a real quarterback. I mean, Geno Smith is, yes, he's a quarterback. He throws fine, but he's just not the guy, clearly. And they just don't have a lot of talent. They're lacking that right this year. Lions, meanwhile, again, they're a team that I think is much, much better than the record indicated. That was the case last year. They were, again, much better than the record indicated. I do think they're a well-coached team. They're very competitive. They just cannot pull games out in the clutch. Whenever it comes down to the wire, they always come out down. They just cannot seem to come out on top. But it's in Detroit, which helps. But I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I really have a hard time picking the Lions because they're not going to blow a team out. They're never going to do that. And in close games, they're almost never going to win either because they just cannot win the close games. So for that reason, I could see this game being close, but I think the Seahawks are going to win it because the Lions just don't know how to win in the clutch right now. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks here, guys. Let's go with Seattle 27-23. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Chargers at the 0-2-1 Texans. So the Chargers, pretty scary game last week. They kind of got smoked by the Jaguars. What was it, 38-10? It was like a massacre at home, too. The Jaguars went into LA and kind of smoked them. I don't know if that means that the Chargers are just not good or the Jaguars are, good for a change. I think, I would probably take a middle ground. I don't think the Jaguars are anything special, but I also think that the Chargers are just overrated. I've been saying that for a while. I think the whole AFC West is overrated besides the Chiefs. Anyways, it's in Houston here. I don't really know who to go with. Both teams just really do not impress me. But the Chargers are definitely the better team here. I know they're on the road, but, they're going to be probably pretty fueled after getting demolished last week by the Jaguars. Herbert, I think, is probably, a little bit healthier now than he was last week. So I'm going to go with the Chargers here, guys. The Texans, again, rebuild mode. They're not any good. So give me the Chargers winning this game 34-20. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Titans at the 1-1 Colts. So the Titans, let's see, they started off 0-2 and then beat the Raiders last week. Actually, not in overtime. The Raiders were down 8 with less than a minute to go. They got a touchdown but did not convert the 2-point try, so the Titans pulled out their first win of the season. Colts, meanwhile, also pulled out their first win of the season last week, taking down Kansas City. I was really impressed with that. Now, I don't know what I said, but going into that game, I did to mention how, the Colts, They're a very inconsistent team, and they can sometimes beat good teams randomly. So, like, it wouldn't have shocked me if they won that game. But I still thought the Chiefs were going to win. So I was impressed. But that's the thing about the Colts, man. They're so inconsistent. Like, if last week, like, if they can do that, like they did against the Chiefs, they played pretty well defensively. They played at least well enough offensively. They are a dangerous team. The problem is they can't keep that up. They're so inconsistent. They look great one week and then just absolutely pitiful another week. So this is going to be really interesting. This is an AFC South showdown. Titans Colts games are always fun to watch. It's in Indianapolis, so for that reason, I'm going to go with the Colts here. I think that the Colts, they like to split against Tennessee, but the games are usually close anyways. And with it being in Indianapolis, the Colts know they need to stay ahead of the pace. The Titans, I think, kind of got lucky last week anyway. So I'm going to go with the Colts here, guys. Let's go with Indianapolis, 24-20. I think it's going to be a really good game, though. Next game, guys, we have the 2-1 Bears at the 2-1 Giants. So the Bears, they're doing it. Okay, they're 2-1. They're feeling pretty good, I guess. But I don't think that they're that good. Fields, kind of off to a rough start. I like Fields. I think he has potential, but, not yet anyways. Giants, meanwhile, took their first loss of the season on Monday night against the Cowboys. Again, I never have been big on the Giants. I don't think that they're actually good. I know they won their first two, but they'll be a mediocre team again. It's in New York. I think both teams are fluke 2-1 teams. I don't think either team is good. I guess I'll take the Bears here, though. They have probably some more upside. So I guess I'll go with Chicago. Let's go with Chicago 28-20. Next game, guys, we have the 2-1 Jaguars at the 3-0 Eagles. This will be an interesting game. The Jaguars, I'm not sure that they're a fluke 2-1 team. I mean, hey, the 2 wins that they've gotten have been legitimate wins. They shut out the Colts and then smoked the Chargers. So it has been pretty interesting seeing the Jaguars play so far. Trevor Lawrence has actually been surprisingly good. Eagles, meanwhile, are off to a red-hot start. They're clicking on all cylinders. Offensively, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are really, they built great chemistry with Jalen Hurts in the offseason, and they have been doing their thing. So the Eagles are good. Meanwhile, the Jaguars, I mentioned, they've been an interesting team so far. And the Jaguars, man, if they can play like they did last week against the Chargers, I could see them winning this game. But it's in Philadelphia. The Eagles are playing very, very well right now. They're locked in. I think that the Eagles are probably going to win this game. So give me Philadelphia here, guys, in a shootout. 35-31. I actually a bold take here. I do think the Jaguars are going to make it close, but I like Philadelphia pulling this one out 35-31. Okay, next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Jets at the 1-2 Steelers. I'm not totally sure if Zach Wilson is returning this game. I don't think he is because I haven't heard anything all this week, and I think if he was returning, we'd hear something. So I think that it's still Flacco, as far as I know. I mean, hey, the Jets felt great after that that comeback win against the Browns in week 2, but still, they've also gotten smoked by the Ravens and the Bengals last week. They got smoked again. So I know it was only 15 points, but the Bengals dominated. Steelers, meanwhile, they're not good either. I mean, they're coming off the loss of the Browns. They barely beat the Bengals in week 1. The Steelers are not good, obviously, but they're still a scrappy team. It's in Pittsburgh here. Steelers play much better at home than on the road. So I think that the Steelers are going to win this game. Not a game anybody really cares about exactly, but give me Pittsburgh winning this game here, guys. Let's go with Pittsburgh 24-17. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Cardinals at the 1-2 Panthers. Both teams, I think, are definitely underperforming right now. The Cardinals lost to the Rams last week, I think it was. Panthers, meanwhile, 1-2. Again, a lot of talent on that team, but they're just not executing. Mayfield, not off to a very good start. He's just been very meh. He hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been totally holding the team back, but he's just not been very good, and he's got to play better. It's in Carolina, which helps, but you know how critical I am of the Cardinals, but I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. I don't think the Panthers are good. Again, they have a lot of talent, but I just think that they have a lot of flaws too. Again, quarterback, coaching, there's a lot of issues there. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals here, guys. I could see it being close, but I like the Cardinals winning this game. They're going to be desperate for a bounce back win. So give me the Cardinals here, guys. 27-14. Next game, guys, we have the 1-2 Patriots at the 2-1 Packers. So, the Patriots lost to the Ravens last week. You love to see that. Packers, meanwhile, coming off an interesting win against the Bucs last week. They looked absolutely great to start the game. Forced a punt for the Bucs, scored a touchdown. It was like, oh my God, the Packers back. And then their defense played very well that whole game. They got stops. They forced a couple turnovers, I think. They were doing their thing. But then the offense, totally shut off. I don't know what happened, but after the first few drives, the Packers offense just couldn't do anything. It was just a slugfest, low-scoring game the entire game. But they ended up pulling it out because the Bucs could not get a 2-point conversion, so the Packers ended up winning that game. So again, their offense, if they can do what they did in the first couple of drives of that game, they'll be great. But they could not, after the first few drives, they could not do anything offensively. It's in Green Bay though, and the Patriots, they're not good. Okay, they're not. I know they have Belichick, but I think that they're losing pieces every year, and they will be without Mac Jones in this game. He had a high ankle. He suffered a high ankle sprain against Baltimore last week, so it's going to be Brian Hoyer getting the start, as far as I know. So that just makes it significantly worse. I think the Packers' offense is going to be desperate for a bounce back after a tough week last week. They also, again, play much better at home than on the road. So give me Green Bay winning this game, guys. I know Belichick against Rodgers, but Belichick, he's not as powerful as he used to be, I don't think. I think that the Ravens proved that last week. So I'm going to go with the Packers here, guys. Let's go with Green Bay, 30-17. Next game, guys, we have the 2-1 Broncos at the 0-3 Raiders. So the Broncos, they too, I don't know if they're a fluke 2-1 team, but they're barely 2-1. It's a generous record there. They have not been very good. Offensively, they've struggled mightily. Russell Wilson off to a very cool start. Raiders, meanwhile, though, are off to a much more disappointing start. They're 0-3. All those weapons in the offseason, and granted, those weapons haven't been bad necessarily. Devontae Adams is who I'm mostly talking about, but they're not playing well as a team. And I told you guys, a big concern that I had for the Raiders this season, I should say, heading into the season, was their defense. I felt like, it had been so bad for so long, but then last year it took a big step forward. They were starting to play better, but then they lost some guys in the offseason, and I think it's bad again. It's not horrible, but it needs to be better. But offensively, there's been issues too. Derek Carr has not been playing well either. He too, I love Carr, but he does have a consistency issue. We're seeing that clearly. When he's on, but he can also be pretty off sometimes. And right now, he's off. But the Broncos, meanwhile, and as much as I love Russell Wilson, he has been pretty off too. They have not been playing very well. It's in LA, so I'm going to go with a bold take here and say that the Raiders get their first win of the season tomorrow. They're at home. They could not be more desperate for a win. So I'm going to go with the Raiders pulling this one out, guys. Let's go with LA 27-24. I think it's going to be a very good game, though. Next game, guys, this is our Sunday night football game. We have the 2-1 Chiefs at the 2-1 Bucs. So the Chiefs, their first 2 weeks, it was looking just like old times. They were clicking on offense. Their defense, of course, not very good, but, they did okay enough, I guess. But then, last week, they did not play very well. They got held to 17 points against the Colts, and they took the loss. So, yeah, everyone has rough games, I understand. And then this is going to be interesting playing the Bucs. So, the Bucs in Tampa Bay, of course, I'm sure most of you know, Hurricane Ian, a huge cyclone, huge storm, made landfall in Florida a few days ago and just destroyed some areas. Fort Myers got demolished. I think Tampa Bay got significant impacts, but they didn't get quite as destroyed. So this game is still going to be played in Tampa Bay, as far as I know. So the Bucs are the home team here. This is going to be an interesting game, but I honestly don't think the Bucs don't strike me as very good this year. I think 2020 they just had all the magic with Brady, and their defense was really, really good. this year and last year too, I think their defense is okay, but it's not as good as it used to be. It did adapt well last week after a rough start to Green Bay, but I still don't think, again, I don't think it's as dominant as it was. Offensively, they struggle even with Brady. They've had some injury issues. The Chiefs, I think, are going to be fueled for a win after losing to the Colts last week. So I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, guys. It's going to be close, but I like Kansas City pulling this one out. Let's go with KC. 30-27. I think it's going to be a really good game. All right, guys, this is our last game, Monday Night Football. We have the 2-1 Rams at the 1-2 Niners. So the Rams, let's see, Rams are off to a pretty good start. I mean, they got smoked in the kickoff against the Bills, but they've adapted well since then. They've won 2 in a row. 49ers, meanwhile, they're off to a pretty cool start. They lost by 11-10 last week against the Broncos. Defensively, they played well, but offensively, they played poorly. Again, it's all on Jimmy Garoppolo now because Trey Lance is out for the year. Garoppolo did not play very well in his first game as returning as a starter, I should say. Garoppolo was, again, just not good. Several bad passes. So he's got to play better. Granted, it was his first game back, so I understand. Maybe he's just shaking some of the rust off. It's in San Francisco, which helps. But I like the Rams winning this game, guys. I think they're the better all-around team. Big-time NFC West showdown. They know they need to keep the pace. And again, I know they're on the road, but I think the Rams should be able to win this game. The Niners just they're not as dominant as they used to be. They're inconsistent. I like the Rams winning this game, guys. Let's go with LA 24-20, but I think it's going to be a good game. NFC West showdown, but Rams win at 24-20. And guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow after the Ravens game.